Miguel had a wild year.
Getting married to a guy.
What do you mean you accidentally got pregnant? Huh? You two have a baby that shares both of your DNA.
Who's the father?
Yeah. Oh my God.
Maury.
It's only weird when you make it weird, but it's not that weird.
The Canadian government is hinting they don't want any queer parents.
Now the parenting starts. It's like, okay, how am I going to shape this kid?
This baby is an entrepreneur.
Serial entrepreneur.
Babypreneur.
Babypreneur.
I think maybe I need to cook longer. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Queer Collective Podcast. I'm your host, Carbon.
I'm Emily.
I'm Nancy.
I'm Daniela.
And that's Mickey Iggy Wiggy.
So today we are joined by Nancy and Daniela, who are the co-founders of LES Studio, which is our favorite queer hair salon here in Toronto. But today we're not actually here to talk about hair at all. Those watching may have noticed that we have a third little surprise guest, who's baby Miguel. We're so excited. Who's here to help us chat about everything that is queer parenting, because you two just did some big major life moves, which is getting married and having a baby. We're so excited to dive into this conversation. We're going to be chatting about family acceptance, talking about the quote-unquote traditional life path, how you two were able to have a baby that shares both of your DNA, the unique challenges of same-sex parenting, and any lessons or advice that you may want to share to any of our listeners who are considering taking the same moves. So let's get into it. The first kind of discussion we want to get into is family acceptance, the traditional life path, all of these kinds of things. So a lot of queer people in general count themselves out of more traditional life paths like weddings and kids. Can you share with us what made you want to take the path of marriage and kids? And was there a time where maybe you both felt like that wasn't for you, but it's kind of turned around?
My parents always spoke about getting married to a guy, and it would be like so fabulous. And my mom would always talk about like the kind of dresses that she would like pick out, and like the shoes that we would wear. And just me as a kid, like listening to all of that, I wasn't very excited about that idea because
Same.
Yeah, like even like before I even knew that I was queer, that kind of stuff never excited me. So I never saw myself ever getting married or it was like to a man or in general.
Till you met me.
No, well,
Still no.
no.
Still
like
don't
it
envision
changed. It changed when I came out. I'm like, okay, like I do see myself now doing those things, but like on the other end where I can wear a nice suit, but never saw myself in like a white gown.
Right.
And being all pretty and stuff. I always saw myself with like, having my short hair and looking all crisp and stuff. But then even after that, just being in a Lebanese, like Arab family, just having that, will everyone come to my wedding? Then I went back to, okay, I probably won't get married because, inviting everyone, nobody's going to come. So what's the point?
It's a bit of a scary thought. And then you kind of just like, you're like, maybe not for me.
Yeah, it was maybe not for me. But then like as you get older, you start just not giving a shit about what people think about you and your relationship and like how you want to build your family. So I always just never cared about what people thought about me. I always did what was best for me and what made me happy. So if I wanted to cut my hair short, I would cut it short. If I wanted to dye it a different color, I would dye it a different color. Everyone would be like, Nancy, pull your pants up. No, like I'm just going to keep them below my butt. Like leave me alone. So, you know what I mean? So
below the butt?
I used to be very low. It's gotten higher as I've aged.
Have they reached your waist now?
In high school, they were below my ass. Like,
oh my gosh.
I would have like boxer shorts underneath and they would be below my butt. And
where are they now?
Like waist. Waist. They're not as high as they typically should be, but I low ride a bit. It's just not as much as I used to.
For me, I come from a Mexican traditional family. So for me, like I envisioned my wedding gown since I was like, I don't know, 11.
Yeah.
I picture like my big traditional wedding, my 7 kids. But then we moved to Canada and that was already like, that's not going to happen. And then I came out and I was like, well, now it's not going to happen. My mom was actually really against our wedding or really against our marriage. And it was quite a journey for them to agree to even come to our wedding. And the reason why we decided to get married was because I said to her, if we ever want to have a child, it would be nice to have like, like the traditional family to have, and not just kind of, oh, we're together and we have a kid. We had a small cute wedding and it was beautiful. Our cultures are both very like all about dancing and food, and we had a lovely time, and I'm glad that we did it.
Well, I remember I messaged you after it because for us, we were kind of in the headspace of like, before your wedding, it was like, I don't think I would ever want to get married or do any of these kind of traditional things because I was counting myself out of it. I'm like, I don't know if anyone would want to come, or like, who cares really? To me, it was like seeing your whole family come together and celebrate you and your love was really special and really nice. And it's like the people who wanted to be there were there and really cared and really supported you. And I think that was really nice, you know?
Yeah, I think it was after all that turmoil and all that, like getting there was difficult, but once we got there, I feel like everyone just put their opinions and everything aside and just party with us and had a good time.
Yeah. Even just seeing you have your first dance with your dad, knowing that it's like that was something that maybe wouldn't have happened that day, and like that was really special and made both of us like really tear up.
I was trying not to cry. I was like,
that was so special. How have they been since then?
I was pregnant when we got married, and I told them we were getting married and they were against it. But then I kind of was like, I'm also pregnant. And I think in my culture anyway, it's all about having babies.
Yeah.
So after they agreed to come to the wedding, and I said, I'm pregnant, I think they forgot about the wedding. They forgot that their daughter is getting married to another woman.
Yeah.
And they were just so excited about the baby.
Nice.
That they were like super supportive. And then after the wedding, they're just so happy that I was having a baby and that they were going to have a grandkid.
Your wedding like kind of set a precedent, or at least like gave options that I didn't think like existed before. Yeah. And I was like, oh shit. Okay, so you can have a wedding from these like very traditionally not accepting cultures and still have it work out, still have everybody come together and like enjoy their time and like sort of put their differences aside, which is like something that like I was very closed off to. I was like, no fucking way.
And like have all your queer friends there with your grandma. You know what I mean? It's like it can all coexist and like still be really fun, and everyone can have a lovely night.
I think that was the best part.
I feel like maybe for context, it would be great for y'all to share even what your year was like leading up to this, though, because y'all had a wild year.
I don't know what we were thinking.
Because
but like it's going and you're alive.
It's just opportunity and you take it. Nothing was really planned. I honestly just like went on realtor.ca. I wanted to see what the market was like for like rental units, because everybody was closing their shops down. So I was taking a look and I found...
You're like, oh, everyone's going out of business? Great time to start a business.
Yeah, I mean,
like
I was just so curious.
It was a good opportunity though.
Yeah,
there was a lot.
Yeah, everybody was talking like, Queen Street rent is so cheap. I'm like, okay, let me see like how cheap it is, because I know how expensive it is. Literally found our unit. I liked the price. I thought it was cute. I saw that there was like already a hair washing sink built in and a brick wall. Perfect. Went to go look at it. We were like, okay, this is good. Like, where do we sign?
Like, we're also the type of couple that we see opportunity and like the things that are run down. Like the place when we saw it was all black and it was kind of
dark.
Yeah, like it was very old and it just looked a little like questionable.
Lots of character,
and it had character. So we were like, it has character. We could do it. And so we were like, we could put all of our love into this. But I think because it was a passion project, it did so well because people could feel the passion behind it and could feel the love that we poured into it. So it kind of just went smoothly. And then after that, the baby was honestly not planned. Like we thought it was going to take us a couple years. Yeah. And I wanted to do it while I'm still young and fertile. And so I convinced Nancy that I was like, we should do it now because maybe it'll take us 1 year, maybe it'll take us 5 years.
Yeah. So turns out you're a fertile myrtle.
Turns out it happened after 2 months. And we were in the middle of a business and
planning our wedding.
Yeah, we had planned a wedding before we planned the baby. So that was not.
She had already bought her dress.
Yes. Oh my God. I bought also one of those dresses that you can't really fit into a pregnant person.
Grow into it. Yeah.
It's like, I'm not going to get pregnant.
Yeah. So the person hemming it was like, should I cut a hole around the belly? I was like,
Around the belly.
definitely not.
Just have it showing right out.
Yeah. So, I think like the shops were opportunity and the baby was more of a blessing. And then the wedding was definitely the one thing that we wanted.
Can you share? You shared a little bit about your parents, like kind of coming around when you said that you were pregnant. But can you share how your families reacted to your relationship and the decision to have the baby?
We didn't really give them a decision.
You surprised them with the baby?
Yeah, we were just like
Surprised
hey.
everyone with the baby. No, we
Yeah.
didn't tell anyone that we were doing this except for
The donor. We thought it was gonna take us a while.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to tell, hey mom, we're gonna start trying.
Yeah.
She was gonna be like, it's against Jesus. So I was like, Mom, I have something to tell you.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm pregnant, and she was like, no. And I was like, no, I'm actually pregnant. And she was like, what? What do you mean? How? I don't understand.
What do you mean you accidentally got pregnant?
Yes.
It's like,
The accident part.
that's the.
Well, actually, my grandma was like, is Nancy okay about that? And I was like, Grandma, it wasn't an accident. We planned it.
which was really cute because she was considerate about my feelings.
Yeah. First, she cried her eyes out. She was like, I'm so happy. And then she hung up and like, I'm like, oh, interesting. She didn't ask me anything else. And then literally 5 minutes later, she called me back and she's like, is Nancy okay with that?
She had to process it. It's like time.
Wait a minute.
You know what's funny is that I think a lot of people get surprised but also confused as to how two lesbians can have a baby. They treat it as if like your internal organs just stop working.
Yeah.
They're just like, no, it's not possible anymore. How is that possible?
You two have a baby that shares both of your DNA, and a lot of people are like, wouldn't think that a lesbian couple would be able to have a baby that shares both your DNA.
Right.
So that's kind of the
Until-
cliffhanger, really.
Until now.
Until now.
You're like
Well-
modern day science. No,
Yo, seriously.
Well, Nancy loves to answer that question.
Yeah,
so.
please.
Please take us away.
The donor is actually my brother.
Drama.
So much drama.
that show?
Whoa.
Bring out the man.
Who's the father?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Maury.
Oh no. You are not the yeah, so
Nancy's
it raises so much question.
Yeah.
But I actually got the idea years ago where like a friend of mine,
Yeah.
a heterosexual person, was gonna do this with her boyfriend who was like he was not able to. So but he has a brother.
Yeah.
And so she was like, we want to have a baby. I'm going to ask his brother. And her boyfriend at the time, they were okay with doing like going that route because it just makes sense. But when you think about it, it is weird. But then when you really think about it, it has both of your DNA.
It's not that
like,
weird. Yeah.
It's not that weird.
I mean,
it's
yeah.
only
It might
weird
be
when you
weird
make
for
it
some
weird. It's,
people.
not
It's
that
only,
weird.
it
It's
is
only weird when you make it weird, but it's not that weird. I was like, yeah, I have a brother. I mean, that could totally work. Like, whoever wants to carry like my brother's sperm, that's it. When I got the idea, he was much younger. We're like, Noah, your name right now is Papunkel. We're not gonna tell you why.
Yeah.
And he's like, what do
call
you
him
mean? What
Papunkel.
does that even mean? And we're like, don't worry. When you're older, we'll tell you. We were ready, and he hit a certain age where he's more mature at this point, and we're like, okay, this is what the name means. Would you be okay with being our donor? And he was totally fine with it.
He's your younger brother, too.
He's my younger brother, yeah.
Yeah.
He's totally fine with it. Not once has he ever said, this is my kid or anything like that. Every time he like introduces Miguel to anyone, he says, this is my nephew.
Yeah,
so
of course.
We made
But we made that very clear that
Yeah.
you're just a donor, and to everyone else, he's just a donor. He's not the dad of this kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense because like I feel like we give a lot of like weight to somebody whose DNA that you share.
Yeah.
But a dad or a father is not someone who just like shares your DNA. To me, a father is somebody who like embodies
Raised you
the figure of like raising a child. Like
Yeah.
actually put in the work to raise the child.
Right.
You're
Yeah.
not automatically like a father because your DNA's out there.
And that happens even in heterosexual couples where like,
Yeah.
the parents separate and then they grow up with somebody else and stepfather becomes more of a father figure
Yeah.
than the actual
Yeah.
father sometimes.
It's like they're
right?
actually putting in the work.
Yeah.
You know?
Tell that to the people back home.
He is not the father.
Well, yeah, but that was I guess controversy
Controversy.
with our family was that when we said how we were doing it, then Nancy's family was like,
Not the family here.
not the family here.
Oh, family back
home.
family back
Yeah.
home.
OG.
Like
Like in
Lebanon,
Lebanon.
home.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were like, well, then he's a father. And we were like,
No.
no, sorry, that's not how this works. Our families were so confused. They were like, I don't understand. And we were like, you know what? You don't need to.
You don't have
understand.
to.
Right.
Yeah.
to.
You just have to respect our decision.
And everyone here, like all my family members here, love Miguel. They support Miguel. They support us. You know, not once have they ever made us feel uncomfortable with how we did what we did.
Can I ask, with your family, is that something that kind of helped them turn around a little bit when it comes to like traditional cultures, like South American cultures, where they really value like heteronormative marriage, yes, but also they really value family.
Right.
And it's like, okay, I have a baby now. Did that help them go like, let's put our differences aside because you're a family now, you have a kid, like we're gonna, you know, turn things around and make sure that your kid feels good?
Yeah, I think for me, actually, every time I go back home, people are like, so when are you going to have kids? And I'm like, hi, nice to see you too, you know? It's like in our culture, it's all about procreation. And like you are, as a woman, you are born to conceive. In today's age, people really should have a choice. Not everyone's meant to be a parent.
No.
Right? And I think...
Or should.
Or should, yeah, right. Like I had a conversation with my friends saying like people should have licenses to have like in order to have
agree
kids.
more.
Financial check,
Right, like
emotional check,
Yeah.
all of the
it
checks.
takes a lot out of you, right?
Yeah.
It's such a big change in your life, and it's not something to just take easily. For us, we couldn't just accidentally get pregnant. We actually planned it.
Yeah.
On
So
purpose,
I
baby.
feel like
On purpose,
yeah,
baby.
I feel
on
like
purpose, baby.
I feel like in my family they were constantly asking me this question. It would always frustrate me, and I would just tell them like, you know, I would always joke and say I'd rather be alone than in bad company,
Yeah.
right? Because I didn't need
That's
to
a good
explain my
point.
sexuality or why I don't have kids.
Yeah.
So now I feel like every time I go back, they don't even ask me who I'm with. They're just like, "How's your baby?"
Yeah.
So I think
They moved on.
yeah, they like. I feel like I skipped this like uncomfortable step into like everyone's interested in my baby.
Yeah.
and I don't have to talk about my sexual orientation or my life choices.
Yeah.
So you know, it's sad in a way that some people are close minded, but it's also for me, it's kind of nice that I don't have to go there.
Have you been like kind of welcomed into like Daniela's family now?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, like her parents like respect me and our relationship more. I don't know if they'll ever really accept it.
Yeah.
But I think they respect me now enough to like I'm part of the family now.
Yeah.
Her mom will always consider, you know, the spice levels in the food for me. So she'll make me like a separate, you know, dish that, you know, it's not so spicy for Nancy.
Yeah.
She'll always make me a sandwich, but she'll make it a little bit different just because I don't like beans. So she won't put the beans in my sandwich. So
Nancy's also a really good parent. Though.
small stuff like that she'll do for me, which is really cute. Her dad also like he's always been like a great help with everything, especially with the shops. Anything that we need from him, he'll always say yes, which is good. So they're both great.
But I think also it has to do with like they've seen how much Nancy's like there for me, and I think I told my mom like when we had a fight before the wedding, I was like, would you rather see me in a heterosexual relationship and be unhappy and be with someone who doesn't support me, who doesn't like help me with the kids, or would you rather see me happy and with someone who's my equal partner and like does everything with me? Nancy and I make a good team, and I think they see that we're a good team.
Yeah.
And I think they see her differently because they see how much equal help she does.
So would you say it's like, okay, in terms of like the level of respect and stuff like that, it's like, okay, maybe it's not the ideal level or whatever, but it's like enough to work with. Like I'm good with this.
Yeah, I see how they treat her compared to what they used to treat her, and at least they accept and they respect our family, and they see our family and they accept it.
Yeah. Getting into like the actual conversation around parenting, I think for us, where the two of us are at is just like, I feel like our life is so hectic and busy. I'm like, I don't know if I can take care of myself. Could I take care of a whole other human being?
And like with us, we like it's every reason, right? So it's like, okay, where we're at financially, it's where we're at with the business, it's traveling, like what we want to do with our lives. And then I look to y'all, and it's like, okay, you have the business and the dog and the travels and the things. And I'm like, they're doing it all. I don't know.
I mean, I wouldn't say all, but yeah, definitely gave up some things for others.
What do you feel like you've had to give
Well,
up?
yeah, what have you given up?
I mean, I love to travel. I haven't been able to do either. I mean, I did a little bit with him, but it's different. Like, your traveling becomes all about the baby.
Yeah.
You know, you're suddenly looking for places with like baby areas, and like if you find a bathroom that doesn't have a changing table, you're like, ugh.
Yeah.
There's
So-
surprisingly a lot of bathrooms that are not like baby accessible.
Right.
Yeah.
And we've only noticed it now because there's been times where we need to change this kid. There's
Yeah.
no table in any of the
Yeah.
bathrooms.
It is
There's a lot of
Yeah.
So I guess just like women aren't having kids anymore. They're just, that's not a thing.
I guess.
No, I think there's just a lack of awareness on like.
I think people expect you to stay
places.
home. Like people.
Well, that's the thing,
Yeah.
right? Like, we went to the Barber Expo yesterday,
Right.
and you know, it's first of all, it's a lot of bros in there,
Yeah.
but also, you know, I was the only one with a baby, which maybe I should have left him home, but like, I don't want to miss something because I have a baby. You know, it's like you're already giving up so much of your life, so much of your energy into, you know, raising this beautiful human being, and now you have to give up who you are as well. And I think that's why it's so hard being a parent, because you're giving
Yeah.
up so much, and then you think
Yeah.
that you have to pick one or the other, and you can't. Well, yeah, you can't have it all, but you shouldn't have so little either.
I appreciate the fact that I'm like constantly seeing y'all doing everything with your baby. Like you're literally opening up a new shop with your baby. Miguel's always there
the
with
manager.
you. He's the
He's
manager.
on the go, man.
He's,
like,
this
on the
baby
go.
is an entrepreneur.
Serial entrepreneur.
He's a babypreneur.
Babypreneur.
You're showing it's possible, and I think for a lot of us, you might think that like you have to give something major up in your life
Or
to be
everything.
able to have
Literally.
a child. You continue to be examples in our life of like things that we could do.
Aw.
You know what I mean? Which I appreciate. Our
Yeah.
like relationship and our
We're
friendship.
really trying. It's a lot, but also, like you said, like you think you have to give up everything, and
Yeah.
I think if you're an entrepreneur or you're someone who's always on the go,
Yeah,
it's hard to give up everything.
for sure.
100%.
So those are like challenges that you're facing as like new mothers, mom and other mom. I feel like these can potentially be stated as general challenges for any mom that's also trying to run a business. But are there any challenges that you two have faced specifically to just being like lesbian moms?
I think the whole health system is flawed in the sense that when we went to our first ultrasound, they call Nancy my husband. She was wearing a mask, and obviously you assume like, okay, you're pregnant, so you must have a husband, right?
Why
And-
would you be pregnant if you didn't have a husband?
right. So I think
You
that-
can't. It's
Man,
not.
it's not possible. Our
Very
midwife was
supportive.
amazing, though.
Yeah,
We
our
love-
midwives were
we love
amazing.
her.
Yeah, they were
And
all
them.
super
We love
good.
them.
Our main midwife, who birthed Miguel, was non-binary, was queer, and that was such a lovely experience. It was beautiful. They really kind of embraced what I needed at the moment. My mom was in the room, and I was really uncomfortable with my mom watching the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I said it to Nancy when my mom wasn't there, and they heard me say that, and they made it as comfortable as possible, trying to like cover places where I didn't want to show. They were just amazing.
Yeah.
But beside the midwives, like, just like going to the doctor, when I started looking into fertility treatments, I did it in Mexico because it's more affordable. And I stupidly went to a town where it's very old school and very traditional.
Yeah.
And the doctor made me feel so uncomfortable because he asked me, what's the reason for your infertility issues? And I was like, well, I don't know if I have infertility issues, but I'm in a same-sex marriage, so that's why I'm here. And I swear to you, the minute I said that, he made me feel so uncomfortable. He rushed the appointment. He just said some mean comments. And I remember calling Nancy crying, like, this is not fair, you know? Like, just why did he have to treat me like that after I said that? And so that was really hard, like the whole getting there.
Yeah.
But we are blessed that we didn't have any actual infertility issues.
Yeah.
Because that adds a whole nother layer of
Yeah.
difficulty in a relationship.
I don't get why people care so much.
Right.
Like it's not your baby, it's not your relationship, it's not your business.
Right. You're
As a-
making money off of
Yeah,
me,
and like as a
anything.
doctor, it's your job to perform a service.
Right.
And it's like, why does the service change based on what relationship somebody is?
Right, and he's not raising this child.
Yeah.
You know, so
You're a healthcare provider.
Right.
do
You're
your
just
job with
provide.
what you need. Yeah, exactly.
right.
Yeah.
So you would think that it's just as simple as that, but it's not. It's always, people would put their own opinions and their own beliefs into it and make you feel uncomfortable because of what they believe. But other than that, like, I think we have a really good support system. So at work and in our environment, we are lucky that we've created a space where we feel safe.
Did you continue to see that doctor like all the
No,
way
fuck
through?
no.
or-
Yeah.
I was like,
That was all
goodbye.
the way in Mexico.
Well, I went to
Yeah.
Mexico to see if I could do the fertility treatment there
Yeah.
because it's a lot cheaper than in Canada. In Canada, if you didn't know,
Yeah.
the government covers infertility treatments for heterosexual couples, but they do not cover infertility treatments if you're a queer person.
What?
Yeah.
Right. So the minute
Yeah,
you
that's
say
fucked
you're
up.
queer, you have to pay for any
That's actually
IV.
fucked up.
I think the government includes one IVF treatment, but everything else is out of pocket. But the IUIs, which is basically with like it's not as intrusive, and you could technically
Yeah.
just go to the clinic and do it. They do not cover it if you're a queer couple, which is like mind blowing. So that was kind of like my easy way to go to Mexico and pay a little bit less money and see if it was doable. I just wanted to know if it was gonna be difficult for me to get pregnant.
Yeah.
So then when I came back, I kind of scratched the whole idea of going. I told Nancy, like, let's just try it at home. Like, let's just try it at home for 6 months, see if we can do it. And if not, then I'll start the fertility treatment here.
Yeah.
But at least we know that we were not able to do it.
So the Canadian government is hinting they don't want any queer parents.
Right. Which is, it makes me so angry, but yeah.
And it
that's a
also
whole
makes
other
no
thing.
sense because you really plan that shit out.
Right.
There's
So
no like
you're
oops,
bringing
birth.
There's nothing different about us
Yeah.
having a baby.
No,
as,
if anything, this child will be like
So
brought up with so
supported.
much more support because
Yeah.
it's a plan.
It's so
parenthood,
planned.
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
not like, oops,
Purpose.
I have you now. I have to figure.
It's like,
out
what do I
to
do with this thing? It's like, no,
Right.
you really want the child. You're really planning for the child.
Right.
You're building this support network for the child, all like emotionally, financially, like everything.
Yeah,
so
and
it's like, why wouldn't you want that?
You have to check in with yourself to see if you can even
Yeah.
handle all of
Yeah.
the aspects of having a child before you
Yeah.
can even create this being, right? So
Kind of on what you're saying about the healthcare system, jumping back over into that direction, I do often find it's like doctors will react strangely to you the second you bring up that you're in a same-sex relationship because like so many of the first questions that they ask is like, is there a chance you could be pregnant? And it's like, no. And they're like, how?
Oh,
and it's like,
yeah.
How would you? It's like, are you having sex? Yeah. It's like,
Yeah.
then how?
yeah, like,
How
it's
do you
like
know?
the math in their head. They're like trying to figure it out. It's like,
It's
bro,
not mathing.
even the 6-week visit, like when the baby's
Yeah.
6 weeks, the only reason why they make that like kind of like a mandatory visit to the OB is because that's the most like after you're having a baby, you're very fertile, so you could get pregnant easily. And it's not good for your body. It's not good.
yeah.
So that is like a visit to the OB for contraception purposes.
Oh.
So you go to the OB and they ask you, what are you going to use for contraception? And I'm like,
Nothing.
my sexuality.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we got lucky again that we had midwives. And
Yeah.
they're very aware. They're very respectful.
Yeah.
They didn't ask me any weird questions about contraception.
They never
Yeah.
assumed anything. They didn't even assume that Daniela was with anyone.
I love
Yeah.
that.
I love that.
Right.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
you don't have to be with someone to have a baby. People have babies by themselves just
Yeah,
because
just
they want to
the
have a
questions
baby.
that they ask you. Like,
It's not just because you're queer now. It's like there's so many
No.
different situations you can be
could-
in to have a
you
baby,
could
and
want to
it's
have a
respect
baby by
everything.
yourself.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that just
Yeah.
like, they couldn't find a lifelong partner, but they still want to have kids. So it's like, okay,
Yeah.
well, I'm just going to do this by myself.
And
Yeah.
like you said too, like the situation that you came up with to have a baby that shares your DNA, you got from a straight couple. You know what I mean? It's like this isn't just
Yeah.
things that queer
It's not
couples are
always-
doing.
Yeah.
And I think being raised too with like going under so much adversity yourself as like a queer person, it's like when you have the opportunity to raise a child, you put a lot more intention into it than I think any other like heterosexual parent would.
Yeah.
Because you think about all of these things that had happened to you childhood to now, and you're like, okay, I want to do it so much better for my kid. For the two of us, it was like that was kind of the reason, one of the reasons why we would have kids is like I feel like we would put a lot of intention into it, but I'm like it would have to be the very right time for us because I'm like I don't know about that.
That's a lot. It's a lot of work.
It's
yeah,
a
but
lot.
to be
It's a big
fair,
decision.
I don't think there's ever a right time.
Yeah.
Nancy wanted
And
to
you
meet-
have shown me that.
Right. Nancy wanted to
wanted
be
to
more
wait.
financially stable.
Yeah.
And I was like, I grew up with not a lot, and I was the
Yeah.
happiest kid in the block. So I was
Yeah.
like, if my parents could do it, in Mexico
Yeah.
with like almost nothing, I think we can do it in
Yeah.
Canada where we have so much more privilege and we can do it. Like there's so much help if you need it.
Yeah.
Well, we were actually recently talking about that. It's like, what would make somebody want to have a kid in this economy? And then initially we started off with like, okay, that's like really selfish if you like bring a kid into this world where like it's all crumbling apart and it's all like really hard and really expensive, da da da. And then the more we talked about it, it was like, actually, it's the opposite. It's super selfless to bring a kid. And like hard times exist, yes, but hard times have always existed.
Yeah.
And harder times have existed as well in like different ways, right? So it's like the problems that we have now maybe aren't the problems that we had back then, but they were different and then arguably worse.
Right.
There were still problems.
There's
And I think
always problems.
Money problems are easier to handle than like in Mexico is not safe, right? So you have to think
Yeah.
about safety. Like,
Yeah.
what is my child gonna get abducted? Like,
Yeah,
so I
yeah,
feel
yeah,
like
yeah.
that the money situation, I feel like you can always find ways.
Yeah.
Whereas like if it's something to do with the environment that you live in, that's a whole.
That's
other-
harder.
Yeah.
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 Were you just as excited for a baby or just like for the idea of parenthood? Because I know Daniela was like, oh, I've always wanted a baby. But you kind of were like, oh, I never saw myself like getting married and this and that. Like, how has that evolved for you?
I never saw myself ever having kids like coming out of me, but
Yeah.
I always saw myself
Yeah.
being a
Carrying
parent.
a child, yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to birth a kid.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, same.
There's no way in hell I'm ever doing that,
That looks hard, y'all.
man. But I did always see myself.
You're like, it was really fucking hard.
Yeah, honestly, like you were amazing. I couldn't have done like what you did. I never, as a little girl, never ever saw myself or ever wanting to birth a child. But I did see myself being a parent. I always wanted to be a parent. I do want to have a family, like a bigger family. But my timeline is a little bit different than Daniela's because I'm not the one actually birthing the child.
Yeah.
She is. So she has her biological clock, not pushing, but her timeline made it make sense for me to do this with her right now.
And now that we're both parents, I see her and like she's so good with kids that it just makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes
I think
sense.
maybe I need to cook longer before the kids. I'm good with kids,
Yeah.
certain age range. Before and after, I'm like, I don't know what to do.
But when it's your kid, it's different. Though.
Yeah, that's
Right
true.
now, it's the easy part. Right now, he doesn't say anything. Right now, he doesn't ask.
don't ask nothing.
He don't ask no questions. Once he starts asking questions, that's gonna be a game changer. Now the parenting starts. It's like, okay, how am I gonna shape this kid?
Well,
we'll
you're
get
probably
there, we'll get
already
there.
teaching him though. Like
Yeah, I
babies
guess-
absorb. I've heard. I
Yeah.
don't have one myself. This is just what I hear on the
On the
internet.
interwebs.
On the internet.
Facebook, no.
Facebook Marketplace has told me that apparently babies like they absorb a lot of like
Right.
what they're touching, feel like hearing, seeing. You know how like you see the parents with like the baby thing on their bodies,
carriers,
the carrier, and the baby's right there, and it's just like looking out into the world. They're like absorbing all that information,
Yeah.
like, and you're
Yeah.
just like not realizing because they can't like say anything about what they're experiencing. But
Miguel's in the
what
entrepreneurship fast track
yeah,
course.
yeah.
He's already seen like what most people don't even see. He's already.
Well,
He
been
knows
on-
how to run a business. You
he's
just don't
been
know.
on a
He's just not
plane.
saying it to you.
No,
He has a resume.
He really does at this point.
The piece you brought up about the legal system too, and just like the Canadian government not supporting IVF for queer couples but supporting it for straight couples was a really interesting point because it's also something that we found is happening in Europe for same-sex
yeah.
partners. Like there's a lot of discrimination that happens
Right.
that a lot of people don't think of that I wanted to bring up and just see if this is something that's happening in Canada too and what your experience has been around it. Many countries where a same-sex marriage is legal still discriminate against lesbian mothers. In Germany, for example, if two married women have a child together, only the biological mother will automatically get recognized as a parent, while the other mother will have to go through an adoption process to convince the authorities that she will be a good parent. And then for straight couples, kind of vice versa, it's so much simpler. The man is automatically recognized as the father, even if they're not married, even if it isn't the biological parent, which is the wildest part to me. Is like, huh?
What? Yeah.
It's like, how are these situations different to you? Is like blows my
It
mind.
gives me a headache thinking about it.
That's
It's so stupid. It's just the dumbest. Like, who came up with these rules?
Yeah, and then this isn't just happening in Germany. This is happening in so many different countries.
the
And I think
United
just
States.
same-sex marriage is like this point for a lot of us where it's like, okay, we did it, you know? But then a lot of people forget about all these other challenges that are happening still. And I'm wondering if you faced anything similar to that with Miguel. Like, if there was, like, do you automatically get to be put on the certificate
Yes.
as his mother? Okay.
Yes.
They don't support fertility treatments for queer couples. But then when you have the child, then you have options for parent 1, 2, and 3.
Yes.
There's
What?
3.
Yeah.
You could put a third parent in there.
Oh.
Right. Which
Wait,
It's-
not 4? Why 3? Why cap it at 3?
maybe you're in trouble. I don't know.
What if
Right.
What if you want? What if? Okay.
What
What
if?
if you have 2 gay men and 2 lesbians?
That's
and
our
you
dream.
want to do 4.
Right.
I'm asking for a friend. The friend is me.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm not ready full-time, but I could do
I could do
part-time.
part-time.
I don't know. We gotta ask the
that's
Canadian
4
government for that.
incomes? What a lucky
Yo,
fella.
you can get a house in Toronto, no problem. No problem.
Yeah, well, that's ask them. I don't know, but it's so funny because you have that option. You could do parent 1, 2, and 3, and then you
I think they
choose,
should cap it at like 10.
like Nancy.
10 parents?
yeah, why not?
It's like
No,
10's a crowd.
That's a little much. But I think you also
It takes what is it? How
A
does it
It takes a
work? It
village.
takes a village. Yeah, it takes a village.
It does,
10.
It does take a village.
Yeah.
Not only you can register as a parent 1, 2, or 3, but Nancy, for example, could also register herself as the father.
Oh.
Yeah.
So
I was given the option.
Which one did you do?
Other mom.
Oh, specifically other.
Legally, it's other mom.
right.
It's like once you get past our obstacle course,
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
okay, we'll
We-
recognize
We
it.
didn't even have to be married
Oh.
to do that.
we were surprised. At
Yeah,
how
that is surprising.
convenient it was.
It's like we don't want you to have a kid, but since you have one, okay.
okay, fine.
Okay, fine.
Sure.
You made it.
I
Here you go.
guess.
Yes.
You
here's
defeated the
paperwork.
final boss.
You're just
Right.
fighting a big Justin Trudeau.
Yeah. Fucking guy.
So I'm really happy to hear that your experience with like midwives was really, really positive. And I'm seeing a lot more that are very like trans inclusive. Have you found support and community amongst other like LGBTQ families? Have you had trouble finding other people? Not many people have kids.
Yeah.
And the
But we're
ones
just
that
not
You're
do
the only
queer-
ones I know.
Yeah.
You know what? Actually,
Yo, for real.
we have a few clients who actually were pregnant around the same time as I was. And I was like, hey, like, we need a group. We need a Facebook group because I am in a LGBT parent group, but it's like an open group. So it's people from the States, people from other countries, and their issues are very different from our issues. Like their issues are all about legal. I just want to connect with another queer parent that has the same issues as me. You know, we're not. Again, we don't have the same issues as heterosexual couples.
Yeah.
So I really just wanted a support system and like a group where I could just get out of the house and go have a coffee. We did it a couple times. We went to grab coffee and it was lovely. And I wanted to make it more of a group, but again, I don't have the time.
Yeah.
It's like now you have to run a whole group.
Yeah.
Well, they were like, "Why don't you open it? Why don't you run it?" And I was like,
No.
"I would love to, but I would literally die from so many things I have on my plate." So
Yeah. Trying to run a business and now
if
you're
any
trying to run a
parent
group.
out there wants to start, I would totally join it.
Yeah.
Lesbian parents,
Hit me
please
up.
reach out.
Yes. And the only reason why we know these people is because they come to the shop. But if you're just a queer parent looking for support,
It's like, where do you even
It's hard to
start
find,
looking
yeah.
for it?
It's hard.
Yeah.
I wish it's like you had your kid and then they got alerted and they were like, hey, we heard.
Yo.
We're here.
We're here
Support.
for
I'm
you.
outside your door.
We had other support systems though, like
Of course.
our families and
friends.
Miggy has so many gunties and gunkles. And it's been
What's a
so
guntie?
lovely. Yeah, a gay auntie.
A gay
Gay
auntie.
auntie.
Oh.
And gunkles. Yeah, gay uncle.
It kind of sounds like something you call your fupa.
It could be if you want to name it something.
But overall, you can cover Miguel's ears and be truthful. How has your experience as parents been? Like, have you, what are your thoughts? What would you say? Would you do it again? Would you tell me to do it?
Yeah, I mean, I would do it again, just not right now. Just not right now.
No,
Like for a second kid, not right now.
it's
Not right now.
I think no, but like in general.
Oh, in general,
how
like
you
if he didn't
experience-
exist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
You
I
can be
would do
blunt
it
and
again.
honest.
Yeah, I would do it again.
The only thing that I would change is how romanticized being a parent and being pregnant is. Like I wish there was more realness to it. When I was pregnant, everybody was like, "It's the most beautiful thing," and then I pushed them out, and it was
Flowers
the most
and
traumatic
butterflies.
experience of my life. The first month, you are full of emotions. You have night sweats.
Yeah.
Basically, your life just crumbles right in front of you, and it's not a pretty sight to see. And like, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, but you're in a deep tunnel. And like, if you don't know how to reach out for help, the postpartum depression and all of that can really, really get you. If I were to give any advice, is to reach out for help.
What parts do you feel like were romanticized, even about like just pregnancy?
Like, I think for me, it was more emotional, very exhausting, because I'm a person that's is very much in control of myself. You know, owning two businesses. I think the main thing, you have to put your feelings aside, and whenever you're feeling something, just like suppress them for a minute and like make the smart decision. So for me, I'm a person who's always in control of myself. Being pregnant, like I think I lost it at Nancy so many times. I'm sorry, babe. I like if you're hungry,
It's okay.
like if you haven't had anything to eat,
Yeah.
you just like, I would just start crying, or I would just scream at Nancy. So like having so little control of my emotions was the most difficult part for me, like the most surprising part for me. And then afterwards, when I had the baby, I thought, okay, perfect. The hardest part is done.
Yeah.
But that was actually the easy part.
Yeah.
Like
Jeez.
having to breastfeed. Everybody's like, once you push the baby out, everything's going to be beautiful. And then you're in bed with all your emotions, your night sweats, with a baby who needs you 24/7.
Yeah.
And you're trying to figure out how to breastfeed, and sometimes it's not working out.
And you're physically recovering throughout that too. That's the
Right.
wildest part to me, is like you are physically healing from that like
Like,
traumatic
you cannot,
event.
Yeah, I cannot.
Oh my
And now you're having to do all of this labor of taking care of a baby.
Like TMI ripped, so I could not sit for like.
It was
a
hard to
week.
sit. I took a week off to help her with everything that,
Yeah.
you know, just to even
I
like
couldn't
use the
sit.
bathroom.
Like,
Just to
you
even
can't
use the
pee.
bathroom, you know?
Oh my god, like having to do a number 2 is like the scariest thing in the world. Right? And
You're
you
not
have
convincing me.
yeah, well, that's the point, right? Like nobody tells you this.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, it's so worth it.
I would take Nancy's role for sure.
That's why I'm not doing it like, ever.
Right. Not to scare anyone. Not to scare anyone, but it's not as pretty
like,
as,
but-
they
of
paint it to
course.
be.
Yeah,
No.
so your whole body falls apart, and then you
Yeah.
gotta keep giving.
Right. So your body falls apart, and then you mentally fall apart. This is the biggest thing. If you don't have a good partner, if you don't have,
Yeah.
and you don't have to have a partner to have a baby, and kudos to any parent out there who's doing it
Yeah.
on their own.
Yeah.
But I think I like hands down be with a good partner who supports me.
Yeah.
Who's a good like Nancy and I make a good team at parenting, and I think that's the most important thing if you're gonna have a child. So when I see all this broken heterosexual relationships, I'm happy and I'm glad that I'm in my own. That's
And
all
then
I care about.
whenever you think about the alternative, right? It'd be
Right.
like, okay, I'd be so miserable. And-
Yeah, like I don't see an alternative because I'm good where I'm at.
Yeah, because you're happy.
Right. But other people don't see that, right? They don't see that you're happy. They just see that you're in a relationship against the beliefs.
What's harder, creating a business or raising a baby?
It's a question of the century.
I think I don't know. I think it's the business is harder. I think.
You didn't do the push out part though.
I mean, I can't answer this question, so I'm just thinking
Nancy
like
has exited the chat.
I'm not gonna answer this question.
Well, actually, in the sense, I think your baby, like you're responsible for one human.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
think with the business, you're responsible for multiple humans.
Yeah.
Their livelihood.
That's
But-
what
right.
I
but those
was
are adult
trying
humans.
to say.
But sometimes you'd be surprised.
Sometimes their baby.
Yeah. Like, I think, and also you're dealing with like multiple personalities.
Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
So you have to adapt to the 7 different
Yeah.
personalities.
Yeah.
Because they're all
Yeah.
coming to you with different needs,
Mhm.
different wants,
Yeah.
different
Yeah.
desires.
Mhm.
And so I have to say, I think a business is harder.
Okay, so I
Wow.
was right.
Yes.
with the pregnancy push out.
Okay, well,
booty rib, all of it
I'm
included?
saying no. Maybe take out.
I don't
the
think we
pushy
can
part.
compare.
I think it's just this. So
I don't think
such
you can
different-
compare.
Do you
It's
feel
true.
like your ass is getting ripped at the business? We'll
Honestly,
cut that out.
sometimes.
You talking about treating your employees like family. I feel like it creates the energy that LAS Studio has. It's like the vibe when you walk in is that everyone's really happy to be there, and like it does feel like a family atmosphere, and that's what's special about it. Kind of going back into the conversation around like values and beliefs, and I think we were kind of on a good roll there when we were talking about queer people specifically being more intentional parents. You know what I mean? And it's like you've had this experience growing up that may have been negative for you, and you want to do something differently for your kid. So I'm wondering, are there any particular values or beliefs that you're like that were important to you potentially before you got pregnant, now that you have a baby, that you're thinking of wanting to do differently or do the same as what your parents did?
The world is always changing. It's a lot different than when we were kids
Yeah.
growing up. You know, different kinds of beliefs and stuff like that. So who knows, like when Miguel's a little bit older, what he's gonna want to do, who he's gonna want to be. And we have to be open-minded for that. Just always be there as a parent. I would do that. My parents were always there for me. Anything that I wanted, anything that I needed, they were always there. My mom was there for everything. My dad was there for everything. So that's something that I would do. And just like support him with whatever he needs. And
Yeah. Maybe the religion, if he chooses to choose a religion.
Are you
to
two
make-
religious people?
don't be pushy.
My parents are very religious, and my mom talked about bringing him to church.
Yeah.
I think I would like for him to understand or to believe in something bigger than himself, because I think we all should have or have faith in something.
Or have the opportunity to choose.
The opportunity to choose,
Yeah.
of course, but
Yeah.
I'm not particularly religious per se, but I believe in like a higher energy, and like I believe in like what the energy that I put out is what I get back. I would want to put that on him, and I would want to let him choose a religion, but always reminding him that just because you have a religion doesn't mean you need to divide. I think sometimes religion can be a tricky thing, because I feel like sometimes it divides. The only thing that I would do differently is let him choose a higher power for himself and know that he needs to be a good person.
What's the biggest lessons that you've learned so far as new parents?
Put things in your calendar.
I mean, I feel like I need to do that now.
Nancy's not a planner, so
I'm not a planner either.
So now we have to merge
Biggest
not only
lesson.
each other's schedules, but also Miggy's schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think for me, biggest lesson is letting go of control. With him, like I'll be running on a timeline and I'm always on time, and then he'll decide to shit himself in the middle of the road, and so now I have to spend 15 minutes changing him, and then I'm like, okay, we're good to go, let's go, we're running late, and then he starts crying because he's hungry. So I'm like, fuck. And instead of like stressing out, I've just learned to embrace the moment and just like watch him eating and enjoy these little things that before we would bother me, that Nancy would decide to do something when we were about to leave, and I'm just like, we're so late. Yes.
Gotta clip my nails, man.
Yeah, she would clip her
Sometimes I gotta
nails.
do my hair real quick.
We're
Yeah.
like, we have 15 minutes to get there. There's 15 minutes left. She's like, I gotta take a shit. I'm like, right now?
Yes. Yeah. The
Yeah,
worst,
because-
Nancy has the worst timing.
Well, honestly, but then
can't
if I like can't hold it, and then when you leave,
That's it. You have to hold it even longer.
because I'm not comfy to do it at a public. Well, I want to feel cozy. I want to feel clean. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, if you
So,
really have to, at a public washroom,
then you have to.
then you gotta layer the toilet.
You gotta layer it so much. It's like,
toilet paper.
it's like 3 layers.
Yeah,
Right.
like this way, and this way.
Oh my God. But yeah, just letting go of control for me. and embracing the cute moments, because
Yeah.
Nancy has a lot of cute moments with him, and I'm
Yeah.
always like about this
Yeah.
kid's gonna be educated
Yeah.
and this kid's gonna love life, and Nancy, she'll just start playing with him.
Liam, you're gonna love life.
Yeah, I'm like, you're gonna be a positive kid, and Nancy will just be doing something silly with him, and instead of like I just let go of my my mentality, army mentality, and just enjoy the moment.
The lesson is take it slow. Enjoy all the moments, because they really grow up really quickly.
So fast.
Yeah.
So fast.
He made me appreciate like not just him, but everything around me a little bit more.
Yeah.
Would you do it again, the pregnancy part?
Yeah, sure.
Nancy wants 3 kids.
Yeah.
And I'm like, are you gonna push one out?
Yeah.
I'm not pushing 3 out.
Yeah.
I really, really want to adopt. So I think if we were to have another kid, I would potentially consider adoption. I mean, we looked at adoption before even conceiving Miguel.
Yeah.
But again, Canada makes it very difficult because I wanted to adopt a kid in Mexico. They have priorities, right? And as a queer couple, they see you as less fit of a parent.
Like the Mexican government would. Or
No,
their...
Canadian government.
Really?
Right, yeah. Because you have to bring the kid over. And there's just so many layers to it. And
Just like automatically you're less fit.
yeah, automatically you're less fit. Like if you're a heterosexual couple who has a good income, but like how many heterosexual couples with a good income that are willing to adopt?
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
So,
And then typically heterosexual couples that have a good income and are ready for a baby will just
have a
as long
baby.
as there's no fertility issues, they just have a baby.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So like the chances are very. So you're giving all these kids like almost no chance.
Yeah.
Which is so sad. And I think in Italy they only allow adoption like for gay people or for gay solo parents. Only they have disabilities, the kids. So there was this story about a guy who adopted a little girl with Down syndrome, and they are the cutest. They're on Instagram. I
think
follow
I've
them.
seen them
They're so
before.
cute, and the little girl is so beautiful.
Yeah.
But basically, he adopted her because that was the only option for him to adopt a kid with disabilities.
It's a beautiful thing to adopt a child with disability needs, but also why
I think it's just homophobia baked into the system, and it's like the people who have like made these laws whenever they've happened, these structures, whatever, it's like we just haven't gotten around to like fighting
I think
for something to change, you know?
if anything, that reveals not just homophobia but also like phobia against people with disabilities.
100%.
It's like you're queer, so you're damaged. This person has disability, they're damaged.
Yeah.
Take the damage. Like that's what it's giving off, which is like so
sad on both ends.
sad.
Yeah, it is. Like I still want to do it.
Yeah.
I just know that it's gonna take more time.
Yeah.
So,
I feel like y'all will be the people you're like, okay, this is gonna take like 5 years, and they'll be like,
And then
here's a
here you
baby.
go.
the news coming. We adopted.
Just like everything else in our lives.
No way, no.
Is there time to take audience questions for Miggy here?
Do you have something to say? Let's just
He's like, oh, I got a lot to say.
Yeah.
I got a
Drop
whole
it on the
lot to
mic.
say.
you
Just
say
give me the
mama?
mic.
Well, do you want to plug anything about your new business, the new location?
So you can find us at 827 College Street. The main intersection is College and Ossington.
So thank you so much for joining us, Nancy, Daniela, and Miggy Smalls. We appreciate you being here and taking us through all of the queer parenting trials and tribulations. If you want to see more of LES Studios and check out their work, please click this video right over here. We gave 9 different people surprise queer hair makeovers. So go check it out. Until next time. Peace.
Did he do it?